Welcome to the Kelly Cardenas podcast, where attitude is everything. On today's show, most of the time I have people that come on and they do a certain thing, and we get to talk about that. We generally are talking about who they are. That's the biggest part of what the show is. But on today's show, what I love about it is this is the guy who makes the guy. Any speaker out in the world, if you want to speak, this is the guy that helps you to be able to do it. It's amazing what he's been able to do. I got the opportunity, and when we first met, he didn't know me, but I knew him. And I got a chance to speak at one of his conferences, and I got to be on a stage with a Les Brown, a Jack Canfield. There's no way in the world without this man that all these people all around the world, some of the greatest speakers, if not the greatest speakers in the world, get a chance to do what they do what they love, and be able to pour out into this world, make this world a better place. And it's all because of this man on the show today. So I want to thank you for being on the show today, and I want to introduce to all of you Mr. Bernardo Moya, the CEO of the Best You brand, and now the new Love event.
Kelly, thank you so much. That's a great introduction. I don't know who that man and that guy is, but he sounds pretty cool. Thank you so much.
Well, I think it's so cool, Bernardo, because most of the time, people are out promoting themselves, right? And you're not that guy. You're promoting everyone else. And you've made your mark on this world, helping other people to do what they absolutely love. Why is this so important to you?
Well, it was it happened really out of chance. I started all over again at the age of 40 something. I lost all my money in real estate, and I wanted to do something completely different. And I was training with Dr. Richard Bandler, the co-creator of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I trained with him. And all of a sudden, I found myself with this opportunity to start promoting him, from training with him to start promoting him. So I became a promoter off chance, out of desperation. I hit rock bottom. I wanted to do something completely new. So I started promoting people. And that kind of put me on the path that I've been on now for 12, 13 years. But it started with him, with Paul McKenna, and then if I rewind now, it's probably been around 1,000 plus speakers, and close to 100,000 people have attended all the events. And the reason was, Kelly, I think, was because I didn't it's one of those things. I didn't see anyone else doing it. I saw everyone else doing their own thing. Tony Robbins doing his own thing, Robert Kiyosaki doing his own thing, but I never saw a platform where everyone could get together and share their expertise. And that's what got me to create the Best You, because I thought something like that was missing. It wasn't around. So anyway, it's been an interesting journey. It has.
Well, you bring together some of the greats. The Sharon Lecters of the world. Like I said, I talked about earlier, Jack Canfield, Les Brown. I remember sending out the promotion that I got a chance to be on that virtual event, and I sent it out to my aunt, and she lost her mind. Like, she doesn't lose her mind about anything that I do. She's always about who I am. But on this time, she was like, Jack Canfield, I can't believe that she's so excited. Anyone in the personal development space, the Greg Reeds of the world, the Sharon Lecters, the Les Browns, all these people that are juggernauts in that business, these are not only people who you work with, but these are your friends. How important has cultivating the true relationships with the people been for your success?
Yeah, I think, it was one of those things. When I started, a lot of people didn't know what I was doing, and kind of they questioned it, because I think we were ahead of our game as far as, bringing the variety of speakers. For me, personal development has always been about, different things to many different people. Everyone's looking for something else, something different. And I found that I had to put myself in that position. But at the beginning, it wasn't easy. A lot of people didn't really get it. But with time, yes, it has been about building great relationships. And I spoke to someone the other day, and they were saying some beautiful things, and kind of things like you have, which obviously my name came up several times through several different people. And you build that reputation over years, and yes, for me, someone like Greg Reed, who I deeply, deeply admire, who's a mutual friend of ours, he has only the kindest words for me, and so do I for him, and kind of that's it. It's about building relationships and everyone understanding that kind of us, we all together, we have that same intent of
So,
making the world a better place, and contributing.
So, Bernardo, my brother talks about this all the time, where he says that your successes aren't the things that are going to inspire people. It's the times when you fell. And you talked a little bit about that when you started off just a couple of minutes ago. And you talked about losing everything in real estate. Can you talk to us about those things and some of the emotions that you went through? Because being in the personal development space like you are, most of the time, people look at it from the outside and they think, oh, Bernardo, everything works well for him. I could do it if I had Bernardo's situation. Let's talk about Bernardo's situation and how you actually got to be, in a place where things started to move.
Yeah, it was, I've lost my money a couple of times, at the age of 26 and then the age of 40, which was a lot more challenging because, I always say that I'd experienced wealth. I thought I was wealthy. I had the cars, I had the houses and everything, but, I kind of lost it all. And it was very, very difficult. It was very, very tough. And for me, it was even tougher because, I had to leave my country, Spain. I moved to London to work in London. And, it's a very different weather for all of those that know that London is grey. They got all the tonalities of grey. The food's not the same. The weather's not the same. So for me, it was very, very difficult, very challenging. It was a very few tough years. But I think those are the things that made you or make you, and obviously my NLP training helped me as well immensely to obviously really review kind of and learn from it, but also for me to be able to change, the way that I felt and I thought about it. And but no, it's been a very difficult journey. And even with the events, Kelly, I mean, kind of when you do events like I've done, kind of my first event, my first expo, no one really understood it. There was 55 speakers and 55 exhibitors and in a big conference hall, and there was like 6 people waiting outside, and I wanted to die. I was expecting thousands of thousands. And eventually we did have 3,000 people, and I share that story that in my first event, that one, there was 10 people outside and 6 of them were registration and 4 were customers. I thought, oh my God, it's too early to go to the bar and have a drink at 10 in the morning. And then, if I fast forward, 4 years later, there was 2,500 people waiting in the door to get in. My expo in London, we had 14,500 people. But people don't see, the struggles, the challenges, the questions, the really difficult times and nights and days, in making these things happen. But I tend to thrive. I've realized that if anything over the years, I tend to thrive in challenging times and moments. It's when the best of me comes out, so yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It has.
So talk to me too about the cultural sides, because a lot of times when I see people that come to America and they didn't grow up in this culture, they thrive at a different frequency a lot of times. Not to say that there's not, U.S. born entrepreneurs who go after it. But there is something different when you've been in a different culture and you come to America. What opportunities did you see? What low-lying fruit did you see that a lot of times a person who grew up here takes for granted?
Well, I've always admired the US mindset and mentality of business and going out there and making it and believing that anything is possible, For me, it was quite surprising because here I am. I'm someone that, 10 years prior, I'd never done an event. The funny thing is, Kelly, is I believe that everything that you do during your life enhances your skills as you get older. And I used to be a DJ. I used to run parties, at nightclubs and stuff like that. So it's funny how all those things of bringing people together, it was at night and obviously everyone was like kind of semi-drunk, but, kind of how those skills came to life into me running events. So here I was running events in London and I was fairly successful. I mean, my brand was pretty well known now in the UK. And I go to the US with tremendous respect and thinking, well, what am I going to come and teach these Americans about running events? But you know what? I was tremendously surprised because with deep love and respect, my events were kind of like Bentleys, really, kind of like in the car category. They were probably like Bentleys. And I was seeing a lot of, kind of Hondas and stuff like that here. And I thought, oh my God, kind of like what we're doing is pretty special. And then I realized that the Americans, what I love about them is they have this deep respect, for other cultures, and obviously, for countries like the UK, where we do have there's a history there, isn't there? So I instantly felt that they were attracted to my brand because it was international, it was English, and so I did, and I continue to have tremendous respect, but I kind of owned my place and my space. My first event, which I did in Long Beach, which I was not impressed with, I thought it was pretty average. I had 4,000 people and 150 speakers. So, kind of that was my first event in Long Beach, and I wasn't happy with it at all because I was hitting 12,000 people. But I knew I knew if we would have continued, I mean, I thought we could have done 50, 100,000 people, which was my intention. It's never been enough. I suppose, like yourself, we've done some great things, but you think, it's still not enough. Nah, it's still not enough. There's more I can do. There's more I can do. So I've always had that mindset of, now, come on, we can do more.
So for you, when does that stop, or does it? Because I'm around people who, and we both are. We're around people who. I asked one of my friends. I said, when did you need to stop working? At this time, he was probably 55, 60 years old. He looked at me. He kind of looked up in the air, and he could see he was calculating. And he said, probably about 25 years ago. And I said, so why? And he was like, I like it. I want to move. Is it in Bernardo just to continue to look at what's next? And when and if it comes, what does contentment look like to you?
Well, I mean, I think personally in the personal development world, and look, there's people out there, the Tony Robbins, the Dean Graziosis, Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lecht, there's people out there that are achieving or have achieved amazing things, and they have, there's tremendous respect, for what they've achieved and done. I still believe that people in the personal development, we're still holding back. I don't think we're doing enough. We can't leave it to politicians. We can't leave it to we can't, obviously we can't, we can't leave it to people in charge of education. And we hold the flag of change, and I think that we just think too small. So for me, when I was doing my events, I thought, okay, well, yeah, I've had 14,000 people, but it's only 14,000 people. There's 60 million or 70 million people in the UK. And there's kind of like 250, 300, 350 million in the US. So, kind of, we're just not doing enough. We're not hitting the needle. We're not moving the needle. So that's why, I came up with this idea of the Love Event, because I wanted to create something that was produced to television kind of standards that we could take to TV, and where we could have potentially hundreds of thousands of people watching the event. It might not be live this year, but potentially I would really love to see an event where, I don't know, like any concert, like Beyonce, or when you look at some of these amazing sports arenas with, 1 billion people watching it around the world, well, come on, if we can get people to come and watch, music and to watch, sports events, why can't we really create something that's extremely unique and tremendously inspiring, that's changing the world, where we're having hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people watching? So, boo-hoo to me, who's only bringing 13 or 14,000 people to an event. It's just not good enough. So I think we have to up our game. We have to reach more. That the world is messed up in a big way. And unless, and I think that's it. I think people in the personal development world, that's in coaching, training, mentoring, providing a set of skills to people, we have to really think bigger than we're thinking. We're not thinking big enough.
Well, I love this, and that's where the rabbit hole I want to go down is the Love Event, because in the personal development space, right, there's all different facets to it, right? There's the course side, there's the coaching side, there's all these things, and then you come out with, I think, the most important convention that everybody in the world should go to, which is the Love Event. And when we talked about it and you were explaining it to me, you were saying that, as much as we need technique, as much as we need, methods and all these things, we need people to understand that the love element inside of what we're doing and what as people move forward is the most important. Can you talk to us about this? Because, I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur, TV producer, published author, I mean, you do everything. When you're going into this one, how many people told you you were crazy to put on a event just about love?
Yeah, well, you know what? I didn't even get that because just people, I think, were just like, "Oh my God, what is he up to now?" Just like, this is stupid and ridiculous. Yeah, it's a big subject, love. I'm writing a couple of books about love, and it's very daunting to because one of the books I'm writing is about, well, about love and what love means in many different relationships. I'm trying to bring it and explain it consciously, so everyone can get a feel of what love is to many different people around the world globally. I'm writing poems around love, but this love event came with the intention of that. Is I lost my mum last year, and like many people, I've lost some very good friends. I lost Bernie Dorman, I lost Ryan Long, really deep good friends of mine, who had done phenomenal things in the personal development world and helping others. And it's only when we have those moments when we don't feel well, when we're losing someone, that we realize that we're focusing on the wrong things, and I think that love is not at the forefront of everything that we do. And love isn't only about relationships. People are so obtuse sometimes where they think, oh, love is all about relationships. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's about being kind. It's about caring. It's about, elevating your consciousness. If you don't know what's going on around the world, if you don't give, excuse my French, if you don't give a shit about what's going on around the world, then, kind of, what is this? What's the use of all the wealth? What's the use of all your knowledge if the facts that we're addressing right now regarding global warming, inequality, mental health, homelessness, these are issues that are real. They're absolutely real, and we can all do something. So the love event is about that, and it's not that I'm surprised. Look, we won't hit the mark in this first year. We won't hit the mark this first year, and it surprises me, but it doesn't surprise me because people are focusing on the wrong things. And I was saying in one of the videos that I wrote, I said, look, if you don't worry about this now, if you don't agree about we have to talk about more love, let me tell you one thing: there's going to be a day you will, and then you can come and join us. Maybe 2-3 years down the line, you can come and join us. But it's very needed, and with the love event, which is all about real conversations around caring, kindness, and elevating consciousness. We've come up with a campaign which is 10% more love, which is the idea of getting people to pledge how they will bring 10% more love to their life every day. Is it about maybe calling some loved ones every day? Maybe about saying some kind things. So yeah, big subjects, big conversation, big event. But it's going to be a yearly event, Kelly. It's going to be a yearly event, and it's here to stay. So we'll continue to run them.
Well, I think it's amazing for those of you listening too. I mean, it's in Miami. Tell us the dates on it. It's the when's the
4th
date?
to the 6th of February. Yes, 4th to the 6th of February.
Okay, 4th to the 6th of February in Miami. And as everyone out there knows, when you listen to the podcast, we're not trying to promote this event. What I want you to know is I want you to become conscious of these things, because the Bernardos of the world, well, there's only one of them. And I mean, it's amazing what it is that you do. Let me ask you this. In the personal development space, just like professional athletes, Bernardo, I find that the difference between, a person who makes it in professional sports and doesn't make it, it's not about the physical ability. The physical ability is almost identical. But there's certain things that the one person has that makes it that the other person doesn't. In that personal development space, because you're around everyone, you're around all different styles, you're around all different, methods, messages, all these things. What do you see as the difference maker for a person who jumps to the stratosphere and maybe just doesn't?
It's about action, isn't it? It's I've always talked about it, talkers and doers, and a lot of people talk a great talk, and but not everyone goes out and makes it happen. I think kind of those that succeed and those that go out and do it is they've got this mindset, is that they really focus on ultimately the goal. What is it I'm trying to achieve, and then in their minds they visualize it as done. Okay, it's done. So and then they go backwards in completing the steps until today. So they just literally follow the steps. I believe that's something I've always done. Every time I've done an event. Once I've decided I'm going to do an event, I put a date. I always try and find a location where I can run it. And once it's done, it's committed. It's done. So kind of like, there's nothing will get in my way, and no one will tell me that it's not possible, because I simply won't believe them. So I think that's the difference. I think, people that set very clear objectives and goals and then go out there and make it happen. And the world needs more of that. I don't think there's a particular skill. It's more about understanding that you're mortal. You're here on this planet only once. And I believe that it's better to say, or to have a oops, instead of, oh, what would have happened? Do you know what I mean? So bring me those oops, that didn't work, than what if, or what would happen. And you live only once, so go and live it. And yeah, so I've always had that mindset, and nothing would have gone. I remember I had this, Kelly, I shared this story. I did my first expo, the one that I told you was like 6 people waiting outside. And I remember we finished outside, and we finished the event, and I was with my event manager. And it's Sunday night, so the event's finished. And I'm having my gin tonic number 3, I think, or 2. I don't know what it was. A very well-deserved one. I didn't sleep for 4 months. And I said, okay. So I said to her, okay. So next year, I'm talking to her with my second, and she's going, but she's like freaking out. She's going, Bernardo, just calm down, calm down. He says, kind of smell the roses, which I've never really done. And he says, you've got to be realistic. And I remember it came out like this. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I said, we all establish what realistic means. Realistic means many different things to many different people. Your reality is your reality. Mine is very different. So we all establish our own realities.
So Bernardo, where does this come from? Like, let's take it back before the real estate kind of boom, before the houses, before the cars, before the crash, before the first event with 6 people or 4 people that were attending. Take us back, like, where does this fire inside of you? And before you answer that, I want to compliment you, because for those of you listening, I want you to rewind here. That's old school. So I just want you to do your scroller back. And I want you to listen to what Bernardo said about the Love event. He said, this year, we're not going to hit our mark. And that's okay, but it's here to stay. You embodied what you're talking about now, which is very, very uncommon, Bernardo. And you did it naturally. It wasn't like a queued up, anything like that. And I want you, if you're listening or watching, I want you to go back, and then I want you to watch that and see how he did that, because this is probably one of the biggest keys. But let's go back. So that's my compliment to you. I don't want to give you too many compliments, Bernardo, because I don't want you to get puffed up on me, anything like that. But let's take it back to early. I mean, did this come from your parents? Was this from your friends? Where did the confidence level and this fire, this burning fire in you come from?
I don't know. I mean, I think personally, since I was very young, I always had that sense of being in charge. I was never bossy, but kind of like I would always step up for the challenge. So I realized that over the years, every single year, I was in charge. I was the delegate. I was in charge of my class every single year. I was the captain in the football team. I was always the designated driver, even when we were drunk. So I've always had that sense of responsibility, but it, more than anything, it's more about kind of looking around and seeing what seeing's around, Kelly. I think if you look around and see what's around, there's either people that you follow or people you have to lead. And if you don't have the people that are worth following, then you have to lead. And I just thought that kind of like, well, being the designated driver, yes, because I'm not going to sit behind in the back seat with someone that can't drive completely, so kind of no, I'm going to be in control. And that's kind of what I've had. I've always had that sense of me being in control and being in charge of my own destiny. But look, I mean, my dad did die when I was 15. So, I had that sense of responsibility as well, I think, with my mom and with my brother. And then, with my family and then with my employees. I've had so many staff helping me over the years. And you've always had that sense of responsibility of being responsible for them. And then when you run the events, then I felt responsible for the 10, 12, 13, 14,000 people attending. You feel that you're responsible for all of them. So no, I think if anything, it's just stepping up because, and Sharon Lecter shares this one, which I've used quite a few times. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? You know, and that's kind of the question I asked when I lost all my money in real estate and I had the opportunity to go and move to London and start promoting Dr. Richard Bandler. You know, I asked that question and I said, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? So it guides me. But it's really, Kelly, if anything, I'm pretty much just, you know, I just go all in. All or nothing. That's always been my approach.
How does a person start to construct? So obviously no one has your exact situation, but we're hearing the fact that you had, you know, trials, tribulations, things like that. You go through the challenges. If for a person out there listening right now and they hear Bernardo's, you know, attitude, and what I love about you, and this is, I noticed this and I didn't get to compliment you when you and I were just on the phone, is the words that you say, although you'll quote someone, right? You quoted Sharon Lechter. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? There's very many people that will quote things like that, but they don't own the information. Every single thing that you talk about, you own, and you have an attitude that it's like, you know, give me the whoops, give me the 4 people outside of the convention, because then I'll make something even better out of it. Talk to the person out there that maybe is struggling with getting started because their attitude isn't in the right place. What are some actionable items that they could do right now, no matter what their circumstances were, to be able to get them on that journey?
Well, I think again, you know, I think it's about not playing it too safe, and people think that failing is a problem, and failure is simply feedback. It's education. You know, every proper entrepreneur. You know, a good friend of mine, Doria Cordova, we were talking about, you know, like, look, if I'm working with someone who's been in business and has lost their money a couple of times with lots of love, you know, there's something missing, you know. So it's part of business, and the biggest and the most successful entrepreneurs in the world have failed. I mean, Bill Gates, you know, you name it, hundreds, Richard Branson, you know, everyone has failed. And I think people have a problem with failing as it's an issue. And it's obviously not. You know, I think you got to go all in. But for me, something that's always helped me, and obviously it's the title of my book, is called The Question, Find Your True Purpose, is about asking yourself empowering questions. We all have this phenomenal inner wisdom and knowledge within us. You know, we all do, every single person. And as I've been in this journey myself personally this last year and elevating my own consciousness, I've explored all sorts of things. And I've realized that we have innate within us so much information from our DNA. I mean, you know, kind of like if our great grandparents, you know, one of them would have fell off the horse and didn't meet our great grand you know, mother, then all of a sudden we wouldn't be here. So there's so much information within us. There's so much knowledge within us. There's so much wisdom within us, and we don't tap into it. And a lot of the times I think it's like when you go to bed and you ask yourself a question, something that's bothering you. You know, you go to bed, you start thinking about it, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and we come up with the answer. So for me, it's always been about asking yourself empowering questions. You know, how can I become bigger? How can I do more? How can I become better? You know, how can I become a better entrepreneur? Whatever those questions are. And I think those are the things that people need to do and have to be prepared to do, is asking themselves really empowering questions, because they will have that knowledge and that wisdom within it. But it's only by doing that and being aware of their internal dialogue that all of a sudden things can start happening. You know, so for me, when I've come up with a love event, okay, well, what I'm going to do the love event, how can I make it happen? You know, who could I bring to the table? Who would be interested in getting involved? You know, what are the subjects I should be talking about? So those are the questions I start asking myself. And then it just helps me kind of create that reality.
So when you set up the love event, what was like when you're sitting, where did the idea come from? Take us through the process. And then, you know, from what I gather, it's amazing because you roll with punches in a uncommon way. Talk to us about the development, because a lot of times people are scared to start because they don't know how to, I mean, or they don't get on the journey because they don't start, right? And you have this incredible ability to like throw caution to the wind, although when you're doing those things, you have you have your confidence in place, you have your attitude in place, and you're moving towards it. Where did the love event start? And then give us some of the early concepts of you saying, like, this is what I envisioned for it.
Well, the love event was what was I think it came from. Well, I don't think it came from the heart. It came from seeing what was going on, or what is going on around the personal development world. It's all about, how can you make six figures? How can you publish your book? How can you become an international speaker? How can you sell more from stage? And excuse my French, that's all. Excuse me, that's all bollocks, as I say in English. It doesn't count. You can't take it with you. All those things are all great, and I'm not saying that it's not right to make more money. I'm not saying that it's right to be able to become an established author and all that. But I'm just saying let's just bring love to the conversation. So working with so many people, I saw that the only people talking about love were obviously divorce coaches, relationship coaches, or coaches in particular that are trying to help people to get through things. And really, the love event is more about, it's not that it's more about, but it is about elevating consciousness. So I came up with this concept, this idea, because it's needed, because it wasn't out there, because no one else is talking about, because I haven't seen a love event. And I haven't seen anyone thinking, "Hey, we should be talking more about love." And unless someone has kind of like either the unless someone is fairly mad like me, or has done events like me, then you're not going to get someone doing it. And it's extra difficult as well, Kelly, because kind of like I set this event up last year where I'm thinking, like all of us, hey, we're going to be out of this pandemic for heaven's sake at one time. But the fact is, it's still a reality, so kind of it's still a reality. So quite rightly, there's a lot of people that are still nervous, still concerned about it and stuff like that. But my thoughts and my take on that is that, look, I'm not going to let a pandemic tell me where I can live, where I can go, or what I can do. At the end of the day, I can catch it in the supermarket next to my house, or I can catch it in another country. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to let this control me. But I think it's just something that needed to be done, needs to happen, and will continue to grow. Everyone was saying the same thing. Hey, yeah, no, listen, we need to talk about more love. We need to be doing it, but no one else was doing it. So I'm very excited about it, because I know it's going to have. I think if we can get there in the next 3 to 4 years, I think this will become an event where hopefully, ultimately, we'll have tens of millions of people, and then we'll have the love event in multiple languages happening in different countries. So that's how I see it happening. I've always kind of seen things in the big way, and I just think that's where I hope, and I hope it gets there, because we need to bring love to the forefront of everything we do.
Bernardo, can we talk about the personal development space for a second? Because I want to go
Yes.
back to one of the reasons why you put on the love event and you wanted to go this way is because, we are inundated right now. We are inundated. Every time I open up my Instagram, my Facebook, I'm seeing anywhere from 15, 17-year-old kids, 21-year-old kids who are life coaches, who are saying, ramp up your business today, and you got to be a 6-figure this, 7-figure this. We're going to 8 figures, 9 figures, 12 figures, and you just need these 3 steps. And if you do these 3 steps and you get on this free webinar, which will take you to my course, and then we'll do this and that. Can you talk to the people out there that are inundated with that and haven't been involved with the real, true personal development space, like the Greg Reeds of the world? Like the Greg Reeds of the world are a person who's adding value to every single person that they're around. And a lot of people, when they touch the personal development space, they hear or see what I was just talking about. They don't see the parts that you and I have seen. Can you talk to us about the things that, that are truly happening and truly make a difference, and how people can really, truly, personally develop, that you've seen?
Yeah, it's kind of what we said before. I'm very respectful for everyone out there, trying to enhance and help people's lives, to become financially independent, or for them to be able to, become an established author if that's what they were looking for. I respect that. I just think that, I call them sales fest. These events where you go and everything that's happening is people going on stage and Hey, yes, it's $450,000, but guess what? And boom, and they start reducing, and all of a sudden you got an offer today for $700. Come on, please. I know these things work, but it's not right. And kind of people are sick and tired of that. And kind of I've even had some people coming, wanting to get involved in the love event. It says, "Well, can I sell from stage?" I said, "Well, no, it's not that kind of event. It's the love event. It's about caring, kindness, and consciousness. I want you to give them the offer of the year, and kind of like, it's not about that. But if you are a person that's obviously, doing some good around the world, you're teaching people about this and you're helping that, and you've got your own charity and your own cause, people will buy into that. People will buy into you, so it isn't necessarily about selling from stage. So, kind of we've had a lot of people that didn't want to get involved or wouldn't want to get involved because they didn't feel aligned with the impossibility or the no possibility of selling from stage, and that tells you a lot about them individually. So I'm just saying that, look, you can become a billionaire, you can become a millionaire, you can become a very well established author, but one day you're going to realize that doesn't really, it really isn't that relevant. It really isn't that relevant. It really isn't that important. And you're not going to be able to take your 420 pairs of shoes, or your 16 Gucci shirts with you when you leave this planet. So you got to start focusing on bringing love a little bit more forward to everything, and that's it. It's the idea of, I'm just saying to everyone, look, carry on doing what you're doing. I'm not asking you to be a different individual. I'm just saying to you is why don't you bring love, or 10% more love into everything that you do. Maybe support a charity, maybe support a cause, maybe follow something that's very close to your heart, and teach your community, your followers, your tribe, to support you in that, in your pledge, in your goal, in your objective, whatever it is. I'm just saying there's just so many injustices out there, and it's not good enough for us to be able to just brush them off and not look at them. Listen, I was in LA. I lived in LA, and this was just after COVID. COVID already happened. I think it was like already 5 or 6 months. And I was in Venice Beach. I was one of the privileged ones, living in a beautiful apartment, going and having some beautiful, kind of breakfast around and then on Rose Street, which was just down there in between Venice and Santa Monica, there was just a whole street full of homeless people. And then when COVID hit, the streets doubled with people sleeping on the streets. There's just so much stuff going on, and that's all I believe. That's what I believe the love event is, and that's what I believe people should be doing more of. We need to be doing more, some good stuff instead of the same old stuff.
So, Bernardo, take me back to, because I'd like to go through some of your DJ times. You talked earlier about being able to utilize every single aspect of what you've gone through in your life to be able to build this picture. Seeing the larger picture, a lot of times people get mad at the brushstrokes that are happening in their life. They get mad at the circumstance that's happening right now. They get so focused on a goal that they forget about the vision that they had. And when they're focused on the vision, the goals are simply milestones. And you seem to have mastered this. But can you talk to us too about some of the things that helped to be able to develop you into the Bernardo Moya that's the media giant that we now know? What were some of the things that most people don't realize that are such a important part of that?
Yeah, I think I believe that everything that you do, every challenge that you have, every adversity that you go through, every loss, everything is is basically information and knowledge and wisdom that you bring forward. So kind of I realized that kind of me being a DJ and putting parties together and bringing people together was something that I enjoyed doing, and then I just started doing it within within the personal development world. But I think that people underestimate, again, as I said before, that the inner knowledge and wisdom that we all have, and I'm saying innate within us, but also additionally, the information that we have from our experiences in life, from the people that we've met, the books that we've read, our friends, the people that we're engaged with, those challenging situations, those times when, you failed and you got to get up the next morning and carry on fighting, that's tremendous and valuable information that we have. And I think people underestimate that, So I don't know, says, oh, I used to do this when I was younger. I used to do that when I was younger. Well, this is all valuable. This is all great, and you should be able to bring these skills to your life and appreciate what you're good at. And I was talking to someone yesterday. I was interviewing someone for a podcast yesterday, and she was saying to me that, kind of like, it's just like asking a friend, if you ask a good friend, a friend that loves you and appreciates you and loves you, and say, hey, kind of, listen, what am I good at? What do I stand out for? What do you think? What do you think are the things that I'm best at? And all of a sudden they'll start giving it to you, and all of a sudden you realize, probably better than you do yourself, on how resourceful you are and all, and everything that you're capable of. I just think that for me personally, it's a lot of the time I've lost people and I've left people aside, because even if I did have certain knowledge and information, I've chosen to move on to be a different individual. In the UK, there's a word that I hate, which is they call it the midlife crisis. When you go through your 40s and suddenly you buy your car, and they always say, oh, you've gone through a midlife crisis. And listen, I'll confess, like all of us in my 30s, maybe I did go a little bit through my midlife crisis. I bought my Porsche and all that. But for me, it's been more about changing and evolving and growing, and not caring who agreed or disagreed in the process. I'm doing what I want to do in order to live a fulfilled life and to live my own fulfilled life. I'm not here to please everyone all the time, and that's okay. So I'm still the same Bernardo that people met, and even those friends. When I separated from my wife, I lost a lot of friends, and kind of like, but I was good enough for them to come and eat in my house. I was good enough for them to kind of be there with me with all these processes. But because then I've decided to move on and do something differently, then kind of they tend to judge you. So I'm still the same guy from many years ago. I have all the information. I brought it all forward with me, but I'm making sure that in the process I'm pushing my boundaries and reinventing myself to become a better individual. And I'll continue to do that. And I'm not gonna ask for anyone's permission anyway.
So Bernardo, you just hit on this, or you just touched it as far as separating from your wife. Can you talk to this a little bit, because there's a lot of people out there that really struggle. They go through that process, and it's almost, they sit and they beat themselves up so much that they can't recover, because they think that if I would have done this, I should have done this, I could have done this, I would have done this. You have seemed to be able to rebound, but what I love about it is that you're in touch with those parts of it. How can a person that's out there listening, that's maybe going through that, maybe going through a separation, or maybe they've just got divorced, what would you say to that person to continue to move forward like you have?
It's not easy. I think for me in particular, I was together with her for like 30 years, so it was probably very challenging, and kind of for a lot of people, they didn't really understand it. But look, I think ultimate love is about letting go, and ultimate love is about wanting the best for your partner, whatever it is. I want to keep the good positive memories. I want to think all the beautiful things that happened, but at the end of the day, I'm not the same guy when we got together when I was 19. So I haven't done anything to hurt anyone. I simply done it because I'm in my own journey and my own process, and I'm exploring a lot about that. And I've asked myself a lot of questions, and I understand kind of like what I've lost, what I've given up. I've given up a lot of stuff. My families, my friends, my family reunions. Christmas, all these things are very tough. They're very difficult. But I think again, we have to explore, and we have to live. And I think at the end of the day, with relationships and moving on with from someone that you've been for quite some time, I think it's just part of the process of growing and evolving sometimes, you know. If it's not a fit anymore, why fake it, you know? And that's kind of, I was questioning, you know, when I was writing these things, was I asked all these questions in the book that I'm writing, and I was saying, you know, I call it, is it fake love? And there's a lot of people that are living in fake love, you know. They live in a relationship where, you know, they're not, you know, they're unfaithful to their partners, or they, you know, and they've been unfaithful for a long time, and that's okay. And they think it's okay. And I just think that they're, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of people are living a lie. And I just think there's something that just eats you inside, you know. When I was finishing my book, The Question, I couldn't publish it because I was asking my readers a lot of questions, and I was ignoring the question. I was ignoring my answers, you know. So kind of like, you know, what's holding you back? You know, why haven't you moved on? You know, what's, you know, so kind of why are you still in a marriage? So I was asking myself all these questions, and I couldn't publish a book because I was being completely incongruent with kind of what I was trying to preach and my questions to other people. So I had to wait for the book to be published a couple of years till I made the decision. And then when I made the decision, then I felt that I was congruent with what I'm trying to preach or teach other people. But look, I think at the end of the day, again, life's too short. Be happy.
Why is it so important to be congruent? Because in a world where, honestly, Bernardo, you could cover those things up. You could cover it up with marketing. You could cover it up with, you know, with PR. You could put yourself and shine yourself in a light and become an expert on something and not be. I mean, this happens. But for those of you out there listening, this is why I wanted Bernardo on the show, is because he is congruent. But help us to understand why that's so important to you, man.
Well, it's the opposite of congruent is incongruent, you know, or basically kind of fake, you know, is being unreal. And I think there's enough of that out there, you know. I think being congruent with your thoughts, with your actions, with the way you talk, the way you are, your honesty, you know, that these are all things that are vital and essential as an individual. You know, as you said, I mean, you look at these Instagram stories, you know, of people that, you know, kind of, I don't know, hey, 12 figures, 14 figures, I could lose you, you could lose weight, or these guys, it looks like, you know, they look perfect all the time, and they got millions of followers. It's all, you know, with love, it's all fake. They don't show you what's happening behind the scenes, you know, and they don't show you kind of the true actions of what's happening. I mean, a lot of the posts, when I post things, it's kind of therapy for me. So when I come up with something, I post something because it's something I'm telling myself. You know, I'm not writing it for them. I'm telling myself. So kind of like, you know, if I, you know, kind of look up, look forward, stand up, I believe. You know, these are things I'm trying to say to myself. A congruency is essential. It's essential. There's too many fake people. You, Kelly, the moment I met you, the moment I spoke to you, you are, you know, you are, you know, you can see you're a straightforward, honest guy, and it comes across. It comes across in your face. It comes across in your smile. It comes across in the way that you talk. But it comes across with everyone. You can see a fake, you know. And I can't. I'm sorry. It's beyond me. So for me, being congruent, being honest with myself, and being who I believe I should be is key to Bernardo as an individual.
Well, I think it's so needed. You know, it's so needed in our world, and it's not something that can be manufactured. I was talking with one of my friends today. His name is Angelo, and I'd love for you to meet him because he started off, you know, he connected with the personal development space, and, you know, he went through all these journeys. He's on his journey right now, and he's such an amazing, amazing individual. And I think that for me as his friend, the only thing that he needed no methods. He needed no anything. He just needed encouragement to hear that it was okay. Like he was okay. And he was exactly in the right place and exactly what it is that you're talking about. Who encourages, and when I say this, I'll preface it, the fact that for me, my dad, my mom always encouraged me. My big brother encouraged me. My wife encourages me. I have all this encouragement, like true, like not wanting anything from me, just encouraging me. I've had this and I've been so blessed to be able to have it. Who encourages Bernardo? Because you're encouraging the world, my brother. So who encourages you?
Well, it's a great question. I've had mentors obviously over the years. I've had mentors over the years. I've had friends that have helped me, motivate me. A lot of the time it's been my staff or my team. My staff and my team are, they're there with me or have been there with me to see me go through all the challenges and situations that we have. Um, I remember I had a good friend of mine. He worked for me for years. He was called Steve. And I would always go to them. And when I had the meetings, I used to say to him, Steve, you have to believe. You have to believe. Because we would, he would come up. I don't know. I remember he'd seen me pull it out the bag literally so many times. And he would come to me. He says, Bernardo. He says, Bernardo, I don't know if we're going to pull this one off. This is kind of like one of the expos, 12,000 people. I don't know if we're going to pull this one off. We're so close to the line, because, 80 grand and £500,000 production is a lot of money, so we're short 80 grand, excuse me, how are we going to do this? And I would always go, so you have to believe, Steve, you have to believe. And then, he would always kind of say to me, he says, look, he says, I don't know how you do it. He says, but he says, don't worry, you're always going to pull it off. So I've always had that mentality that I'm going to pull it off, whatever. And if I don't pull it off, guess what? Nothing happens. It's all right. It's just a bad couple of days, but then you just get on the horse again and you just ride it somewhere else. So, but I've never had, I look, when I had my wife, yeah, we used to talk all the time. And, I've had some friends that obviously helped me, support me. But I think if anything, it's been more my team. I feel, to be honest, I feel a lot of the times, I say that entrepreneurship is a lonely place, isn't it? Being an entrepreneur, people think, oh, being an entrepreneur is tough, man. If you want to be an entrepreneur, just be ready, because it's going to squeeze every single thing out of you. But no, I felt alone a lot of the times. I felt alone a lot of the times because of the level of challenges that I put on my shoulders, but anyway, it's the name of the game, I suppose. But I've been lucky, but I've also been kind of like, cursed with that. I think with that thing of the size of the challenges that I do, who can I share these conversations with sometimes, who could understand kind of what I'm going through, and for me, and although someone can make you feel good, and someone can say the right things, and someone can give you words of encouragement, which are always valuable and great and needed. But sometimes, you want someone that's walked that walk. And unfortunately, sometimes I felt that I didn't have that.
Well, I want to tell you, from a guy who wants nothing from you, needs nothing from you, I want to encourage you, man, because what it is that you're doing, you impact so many. I mean, and I'll tell you this, when the pandemic happened, I lost every business that I had. We were doing at the height, we were doing 3.85 million a year. We had salons all over the country. One day, like that, gone. I was speaking all over the country and all over the world. One day, gone. Consulting, one day, gone. All of it, just done. They say diversify, Bernardo, but I diversified into every single thing that went away. Everything, everything. So nothing. And I remember, I wanted to start the podcast. And for those of you who've been listening since episode 1, I want to thank you. And I haven't told this story on the podcast, but I was at a point where we had nothing, and I wanted to start it, but I needed equipment, and equipment wasn't that expensive. And we're coming from a life of, like a lot of things happening. I mean, when you're churning a lot of millions of dollars a year, you're doing tons of things, and then one day, bang, it's gone. And I remember sitting in the Ralph's parking lot, and I called my brother, and I told him, man, I want to do this thing, but I just don't know. And the equipment at the time was under $1,000. And I was in my truck, and I was crying. And I was telling my brother, I don't know, because I don't have enough money to be able to get my kids any food. And I feel irresponsible taking any money and going and do this thing, but I know it's what I want to do. And he said, well, you know, pray about it, whatever it is. Little did I know that he wasn't asking me to pray about it to delay. He wanted me to do that because he actually got the website, bought the thing, and sent it out to me, called me 10 minutes later and said, you know, I just want you to know it's on the way. Well, we went to Yellowstone, you know, on a trip with the family and everything like that. We're sitting, and I see the Best You pop up. And I called and I said, you know, I said, if you want to get on stage and you want to do whatever. And I said, this is my journey. This is what I want to do. So I called and I had the little call introductory and they told me what it was. And I sat down and talked to my wife and I said, baby, I know, I mean, we don't, you know, maybe this shouldn't be what I'm doing right now. But she encouraged me. And she said, you know what, if you connect with one person, just one person, it would be worth it. And I signed on, and I got to, like I was saying earlier, I got a chance to be on the virtual stage with, you know, Les Brown and Jack Canfields, and, you know, put it into a completely different space. I was speaking in the professional beauty industry and a few things outside of it, but this is what I wanted to do. Little did I know that a little over a year later, I would be talking to the guy who put it on in the first place. And I want you to understand, I want you to encourage you, because you are changing so many lives, man. You are touching so many families. You set me on a journey that I could never repay you for. But again, from a guy who needs nothing from you, wants nothing from you, I want to encourage you and tell you, man, I mean, every single time that 4 people show up, every time that you don't hit a mark, every time that something goes on that maybe isn't the best and that you have a positive attitude to keep moving forward, you take that step forward. And I tell you, you take thousands, if not millions of people with you and help them to be able to realize their journeys, man.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Yes, it's I do appreciate, you know, kind of what we do, and I've a lot of the times when I've been doing these events, you know, kind of like I would finish the event and I would say, I am never ever doing this event ever again. Done. It's enough. But then, you know, kind of like I walk through the halls, I walk through so, you know, that expo, what I was telling you, we did have 3,000 people show up, but I'm saying on the first morning, we had 4 in the first hour. And then eventually they rolled in, you know, over the weekend. But, you know, I've had that. I've had people coming to me and says, you know what? He says, Bernardo, I came to your first expo. We came, we walked around, and then here we are now. He says, I remember this lady gave me a business card. She says, next year we're going to have a booth here. And then, you know, then the following year they would have a booth and they would be sharing. And so many people, at my last event, there's so many people coming saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you realize that, you know, you realize that you're doing something, you know, and I've always had that same thing as well. It doesn't matter if one person can learn one thing. And I know, you know, when you go to events like these, you learn multiple things. Yeah, listen, it's just, you know, being a promoter, and, you know, I was the same, you know, we were turning over millions of dollars, and all of a sudden, oops, you know, live events are out, boys and girls, you know, no money anymore. You know, so we moved to TV, and, you know, we've got the TV network now, which I'm very, very excited about. I think that's the future for personal development world, and for the Best You. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. But I personally think that, you know, kind of, yeah, any entrepreneur would understand, you know, that you're going to go through very tough times. You're going to go through very dark moments. But those are the moments that make you. Those are the moments that make you, you know, who you are. That will show your stealth, and it will show what you're capable of doing, you know. And I believe that, you know, but at the end of the day, even if whatever project, event, or you know, you decide to do, even if it fails, who cares? You know, it's just part of follow and do something that has a meaning, and do something that is going to make the world a better place, you know. And a lot of people say that's cheesy. Well, you know what? I'm not a cheesy kind of guy. I'm very straightforward. I call it as it is. But I just think that there's a lot of people that are full of bullshit, talking about the wrong things. And I just think that we need to be focusing more on the important things. So as long as I've got strength and energy, and as long as I'm still breathing, I'm going to continue to do things that have a meaning, and that can help more people. So we can all together, you know, maybe leave the world a better place than it was when we got here, because we messed it up big time.
Well, Bernardo, it's incredible. And those of you guys listening, this is the kind of conversations, and this is why I want to have him on the show. And I keep saying that because this is the conversation that I had with him on the phone when no one's listening. And the reality of Bernardo, and I want to compliment you, man, because a lot of times when people are growing, they're connecting with everybody. They're there, they're open, all this stuff. And then as things start to roll, then it starts to change. And it's kind of more of a, you got to go through this filter, and you got to have filters, especially at the level that you're at. But the reality of you and the humility that you have and the connection point and the genuine heart that you feel, not only in the text that I get from you, but the phone calls, those kind of things, man. I mean, they mean the world. And, it really impacts a lot of people, that are out there. And the thing that I want to ask you about too, man, is people talk about NLP. This is a switching subjects real quick, but people talk about NLP. For those out there who haven't been in touch with it, or it's just this, maybe it's too much for them. Can you break it down simply? Like if my son was here and he's 10 years old and you were explaining NLP and the advantages of those things to my 10-year-old son, how could you do that?
NLP is the study of excellence. It's how do successful people do what they do, and what is their thought processes in doing it. So there's obviously a strategy and process in the way that we think. We don't have a manual. No one's given us a manual. We don't know how to think. We don't even know what we're thinking about. Well, we can change the way we think, and by changing the way we think, we can change the way how we feel, and obviously we can change many things. So NLP for me, for anyone that is listening, for me, and having done and promoted and worked and read so many great people, NLP is the most powerful set of skills or tools that anyone and everyone should have. So I think NLP has enabled me to kind of like really enhance Bernardo. I was okay, but I'd done so many sales courses, training courses. I used to sell timeshare when I was young, Kelly. I couldn't even tell you how many things I've done. I used to be a DJ, worked in a bar, was a timeshare guy. I was a sales line manager, you name it. I used to sell advertising, but I remember there I am, I'm 30 something. I already have a successful real estate in Spain. And I'm standing in the middle of the room and I'm learning these NLP skills in my NLP practitioner course, my 7-day course. I'm standing there on day 3 and I'm thinking, oh my God, why am I learning these skills only now? These are amazing. So yes, and having worked with Richard Bandler, the co-creator, who's obviously an absolute genius. I worked with him for 11 years promoting him and sitting in every seminar room. We trained around 25,000 people together. So I made a bit of a dent in the NLP world. And it's a phenomenal set of skills that can help you build rapport, change the way you think, communicate better, sell better, overcome phobias, any fears, anxieties. It's just, and obviously you start learning eye accessing cues. You learn non-verbal communication. So I'm an NLP trainer. So when I sit down with people, I have a license to read. You see, so I can see what they're doing. I can see their eyes moving here. I can see their hands moving there, and they want to hide it, but trust me, I know everything you're doing, my friend. So it's a very, very powerful tool, and it's made me, who I am as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a person, as an individual. It really, really has. It enhanced my life. So I don't know if I would have been who I am today without NLP. And because, it just provided me an extra, and kind of like a platinum, mindset, if I was capable of doing things before, it gave me that mindset of being able to change the way I thought about any adversity that I would have and just carry on going. So NLP is a very powerful skill.
So Bernardo, being who you are, right? I ask this because you put on some of the greatest events in our nation, if not in our world. Are you able to go to an event and enjoy it? Like, that's not yours. Like, you go to an event, or are you looking at all the lights and the production, and are you able to go to a personal development conference, which, anyone out there, if the one that you need to be at is the Best You and the Love event, but if you were to go to another event, can you sit in the audience and take it in?
I tell you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I've always I've really educated myself in making sure that I would not the non-judgmental aspect of me. Not being non-judgmental is really, really important. You know, I used to be a judgmental kind of guy, and many years ago I learned to not judge anyone. You don't know the scars, you don't know the challenges, you don't know what people are going through. You know, from a face that might be smiling, might be hurting or broken on the inside. So I'm completely non-judgmental. But being a promoter is something that I'm tremendously non-judgmental. I get into an event and I turn off the Bernardo promoter hat off eyes, and I just literally enjoy and go with the flow. I have to, because, you know, kind of like, if not, I wouldn't. Of course, data and information is being knowledged and logged in there, but, you know, kind of, I'm very careful in not judging anyone and judging an event. And I'll share a story. This is a funny one. I had this friend of mine. She was a promoter. She did these events, and you know, kind of like, it's a small event, obviously, in comparison to kind of what the stuff I used to do. But again, not judgmental. I'm there. But I remember we were in this, and you know, there was this thing where you could only have a photograph with the speakers. I was a speaker at this event, and you can only have a photograph with them if you were a VIP. I love engaging with everyone. Please don't tell me I can't have a photograph with whoever I want. Do you know what I mean? Just because they paid a little bit more. Come on. You know, kind of like, it was just so bad, you know. But this person, she used to be really fiery on stage. She used to be, come on, give it up. You can't, you know, don't give up. And, you know, she was like one of those, just like pure power and energy, you know. Anyway, so we finished the event, and I'm there with the other speakers, and she comes and says, Bernardo, what did you think of the event? And I could see her looking at me, but she was asking everyone, and she kind of put me last, but she wanted to ask me. Obviously, she wanted to ask me. And I remember thinking, I said, listen, darling, I said, look, everything I'm going to tell you is coming from a deep place of love. And I always do this. Everything I'm going to say is come from a deep place of love. But I need to ask you this question. Do you want me to stroke your ego, or do you want me to be honest? Because if you want me to stroke your ego, I can say whatever you want. But if you want me to be honest, I'm going to be honest, because Bernardo is honest. But don't ask for my personal opinion if you don't want it to be personal. But it's never personal. It's always about love. And I'm coming from a deep place of love. So obviously you could see her face straining, like thinking, what the hell's going to happen? But she asked me for my opinion. So, you know, kind of, I told her, I said, look, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. I said, blah, blah. But I gave her obviously a lot more compliments. This wasn't a negative. This was a constructive feedback as a promoter that run many events. And I gave her my feedback on things that I would have done differently. That's all I was saying. Okay. I deeply admire anyone that does an event. It doesn't matter where they do it. I deeply admire it. But that was kind of that's what happened. And that was a story of not being judgmental, but me being honest at the end and telling her. And anyway, bless her. I think I finished talking to her, Kelly, and literally 3-4 minutes later, as the face was draining with it, she left. She didn't speak to me for a couple of days. And I said, why would you not speak to me? I told you I'm coming from a deep place of love. You asked me for my honest opinion. So if you ask me for my honest opinion, why would you not want my honest opinion? And sometimes that's a problem. If people can't deal with honesty, you know, if people can't deal with a straightforward answer that they might not like, because the ego gets in the way. It's all about the ego, Kelly. It's all about the ego.
So, Bernardo, if you could sum up all of personal development, and a person, you just had 15 seconds on an elevator with someone, why personal development was so important in this world, what would you say to them?
Personal development is important because it's going to be, if we get the right mindset together, we can really change the world. You know, there's an array of phenomenal experts out there that are sharing the expertise that needs to be learned, you know, at schools or, you know, with kids. And if we understand the relevance and importance of that, and we all together find ways of reaching more people, and you know, in as many ways as possible, you know, we're going to start creating some phenomenal, massive change. You know, when you look at, for example, you know, a lot of the ways to make money, you know, you look at crypto, you look at, you know, there's so many things out there that have to be taught, you know, at as early years as possible. So I think, you know, personal development holds the flag of change. And I think that the sooner that we realize that, the sooner we go out there together and address it, we're going to start making the world a better place.
So, Bernardo, the reason why I started the podcast is because of my kids. It's Maddox, who's 10 years old. He's an absolute superhero. This kid, I mean, he wakes up in the morning. He's joyous about everything, puts on whatever socks he wants. They're mismatched. One time he came down shorts over the top of pants, and he was just ready to go to school. This kid, I mean, he's a cartoon character, and he's just a ball of just joy, love, and he just runs around, and it's just his world all the time. My daughter is 13 years old. She has the heart of gold. She has the sense of humor that lights up this world, and the heart and love. Like every single thing that she does, she just pours every single thing that she has, and everything that she's around grows because she loves. She took an avocado seed one time, planted it in the ground, not in the soil, just in some dirt. And within a couple of days, we started to see sprouts come up. And I wondered, but I realized that it was just the love in her heart that was able to do that. Yeah. So Maddox is 10, McKenna is 13. I started the podcast because of them. I wanted to take iconic people like yourself. And I wanted to show my kids that the Bernardo Moyas of the world were not superheroes. They were simply human beings that had an incredible attitude and crazy work ethic. What advice would you give to Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both of their names, Bernardo, it would be amazing.
Well, listen, Maddox, he's just, Maddox is your son, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Maddox has got to keep doing what he's doing for the rest of his life. He's got to keep being himself. He's got to keep doing, wearing what he wants to wear when he wants to wear it, and continue to bring the joy. And don't tell anyone, or don't let anyone tell him. Maddox, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do this or you can't do that. So you've got the right attitude, man. And then your daughter, obviously with love, with what she's bringing in, McKenna. I mean, she's obviously, and she has a sense of humor. Richard Bandler had a quote. He says that humor is your invisible shield. And I love that. I think, I love having a laugh, and kind of every time that I can, I love having a laugh. And I've got a pretty sarcastic, dark sense of humor sometimes, but all I would say to her is to continue laughing, continue smiling, continue bringing great energy. And even because even when you go through those dark moments, it's not that bad. So you just have a little laugh, and then you just continue. So I think your kids, from what I gather, from what I hear, from what you're saying, they've obviously got kind of like, the seeds from you and your wife. And I think they need to continue to bring that. And that's it, isn't it, Kelly? It's just when we get older, we tend to get a little bit more serious. No, everything's so serious. I'm serious. I'm a serious entrepreneur. I'm a serious person. Oh, come on, have a laugh. You're just too uptight. Do you know what I mean? Just have a little bit of a laugh. So keep on doing what they're doing.
Well, Bernardo, you have been absolutely phenomenal, man. I want to make sure I want you on the show more. I'd like to have a second episode, and I find that if I ask you in public, like people are listening right now and they're watching right now, and if I ask you to be on and you say no, then they're going to be like, "Why? This guy talked about love. He talked about changing the world, but he ain't trying to be on a second episode." So I'm going to ask you right now. No. I want you on again, man.
Well, obviously, I'm going to have to say yes. No, listen, Kelly, I would do that anytime for you. Anytime for you. And yes, no, I'd love to. And we'll explore and we'll discuss a little bit deeper what happened at the Love event and, kind of what we brought there. And I still hope that you can join us there, even if it's remotely in one of the panels or something. I love to have your wisdom and your great energy there. So, yeah, listen, of course, I would love to. I'm deeply honored. I'm very grateful. Too many compliments. I'm going to have to chill and have a glass of wine in a minute. But no, I want to thank you so much. It's been great. I love being interviewed by someone like you. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, for those of you out there listening, now you know exactly what you need to do. You need to click the links. You need to check the sponsors. You need to do all the things that you know that you should be doing. The thing that I am going to ask you is I'm going to ask you to share this episode because I believe that Bernardo's voice needs to be out there. The other thing is we're going to have a link in the profile for the Love event, for the Best You. And what I want you to realize, guys, is what Bernardo is not telling you is that if you don't get it within 2 weeks, then, you're going to miss out. He's saying the Love event, the Best You, is here to stay, to make this world a better place. And we would love for you to be on the journey with us today, but if not, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's next week, whatever it is. But I honestly, like Bernardo, I'm floored. I'm blown away. I'm humbled because it's incredible. And I've been very, very fortunate in my world. I've lived by 3 principles. Number 1, be really kind, contribute to every single person. Number 2, make friends. And number 3, stay really, really curious. And what I found is when I got in touch with Paul Mitchell, when I was a very small kid growing up in the beauty industry, I got in touch with Paul Mitchell, the brand. Little did I know years later that I'd be in touch with the CEO of the brand and co-founder of the brand, which is John Paul DeJoria. I feel that same way with you. I got in touch with the Best You brand, and I heard of this Bernardo. I heard of this almost kind of Oz. And now to be able to call you my friend, it's a very humbling experience, man. And you've absolutely added so much value to every person out there watching and listening, man. And I want to thank you again 100 million times. You are a treasure in this world, man.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm very, very grateful. And I think you bring something great. And look, I think, for me with these events that I do, because I do them with love, and, you can get an online ticket for free. You can help us and buy a premium online ticket, which you get loads of bonuses, thousands of dollars. And that's only $49. You can watch it on your TV channel. You can watch it on Roku, Apple, Amazon. You can watch it on the Best You TV. So I'm doing everything I can in order to kind of reach more people, help more people. And it costs nothing. But obviously, people helping us and sharing it and engaging, connecting, supporting, sponsoring, partnering. I don't, I've done enough events where I've lost money. And I'm simply quite happy just not to lose money at this point with this event. That's all I want. But I want to bring real conversations about things that are really important. That's what I'm trying to do. So as always, and like everyone, I need help too. So that will be a great way for anyone to help us and support us and get involved in the event. That will be amazing. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Well, you're amazing, man. And Bernardo, you're officially off the hot seat.